Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show today. We have some more breaking news of things coming out of Mar-a-Lago, where Trump and Trump's campaign team are increasingly unhappy with Mike Johnson, and also how this is essentially broken apart the GOP. Remember, there was 34 GOP members that did not vote for the last CR bill, and they're all stating that Mike Johnson does not have the best interest for America and only did this with siding with the Democrats. This is a huge crisis that now there's reports that there could be no Trump inauguration on January 20th because of the fight over the speakership of Trump not wanting Mike Johnson to be Speaker of the House, as well as many GOP members, including one of the biggest ones, Thomas Massie, who said that Mike Johnson is nothing more than a rhino and will always side with the Democrats. He really showed his hand during the almost government shutdown, and now more and more GOP reps have called for his replacement. So with that, this could turn into a huge issue with Trump's first 100 days, the budget reconciliation that they're wanting to pass in the first 100 days, and this is very, very damning to Trump's agenda of getting America back on track. But in this next news, you're not going to believe this. Biden literally has just sent out another $2.4 billion in COVID stimulus checks. You heard me right. Stimulus checks 2 years after everything is essentially done. They're now sending out more checks to millions of Americans. I don't know the play, but I feel like he's trying to spend as much as possible. But at least this time, the money is going to Americans and not illegals. Hopefully. But we also have it now where they're infighting of the GOP and what's going to be on the reconciliation bill to pull back the spending that Biden has been doing without any thought or mind in the past 6 months. The thought is to pull back and reduce and limit government, but there's still a lot of rhinos in the GOP that want to preserve as much spending as possible. But now that we can see this, it's good because Elon Musk has stated that in the next coming 2 years, those rhinos will be primaried out. On top of that, we have new leaked evidence that Biden's son and Joe Biden did in fact work with overseas nationals to secure deals, gain wealth, and use their influence for their own personal gain. And now we understand why Hunter was pardoned without any conditions for the past 11 plus years. It all makes sense. We got a ton of breaking news to show you today, but I'm telling you, this is crazy what we are seeing. Want to say thank you to everybody that is watching. If you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button. If you don't mind, we are here to serve you Monday through Friday, 2 shows a day, one on Saturday, one on Sunday. Thank you to all those that are subscribed. And if you don't mind, click the thumbs up like button. It really does help the channel and the videos. Thank you to all of our members of the channel. We appreciate you so much. If you want to join, the link is in the description to become part of the TrueLife News fam. And remember, we use all the donations from and all the fees from members and from super chats to give to charities, which we'll be giving to a group home in the month of January. I want to say thank you to everybody that gives a super chat donation as well. We have a ton of breaking news to get into today. I feel like we're about to hit a huge hot mess over the speakership, but check this out.
Before the last couple of weeks, I was, in his corner, but now I'm, we should consider what's the best path forward.
The fact that there's zero communication from leadership to the membership, and it's very frustrating. And something needs to change before January 3rd here. We need a clear understanding of how we're going to do things next session, because what's happening right now is completely unacceptable.
Are you saying you'll support Mike Johnson, or you're not supporting Mike Johnson? Do you have somebody else in mind that you want to see as speaker?
I think it's good to mix it up and let them know we are not happy with the job they're doing.
Lawmakers saying that they are not committed to Speaker Mike Johnson after infighting broke out among Republicans over a spending bill to prevent a government shutdown. The GOP has a razor-thin margin in the House, putting Mike Johnson's speakership role in jeopardy and threatening Republicans' ability to advance Trump's agenda. So joining me now is Tennessee Congressman Tim Burchett. So, Congressman, you said the next House Speaker will likely be one that President-elect Trump likes. Where do you come down on House Speaker Mike Johnson?
Well, I get along with Speaker Johnson very well. it's a tough job. 435 members and at least that many egos, and two, the fact that if we have a good or a bad flu season, we could be out of the majority. Literally, we have a 3-person majority.
Guys, I hate to interrupt, but I really want to make this point. Look at the title at the bottom. They're trying to oust Johnson, but at the same time, too, it's like they're stepping over their own foot because this could delay the 2024 certification as well as delay Trump's inauguration on January 20th. Let me know your thoughts.
And it's these razor thin margin. That's why it's so important that we have good leadership that's beneath the speaker, like our whip, for instance, Tom Emmert and Guy Riesenthaler. They do a great job, as Steve Scalise did before them. So that's going to be a real tough job, though, counting heads, making sure people are there, and that's always going to be tough. But as far as communication goes, I mean, that's always plagued leadership. They work a deal out. They think they've got what everybody wants, and then they didn't contact somebody, and people get upset with that, and they have a right to be.
So the House Freedom Caucus chair, Andy Harris, wavered when I asked him about his support for Speaker Johnson. I want you to listen to this.
It was a rough 2 weeks. I think the president, again, has not come out in support of Mr. Johnson since then. I think the president realized that if he's going to get his agenda through a very narrow majority in the House, he's going to need strong leadership at the top, and I think he's evaluating whether that exists. Before the last couple of weeks, I was, in his corner, but now I'm, we should consider what's the best path forward. And again, we reconvene on January 3rd. We obviously have a lot of important things to do in January. But we do need to consider whether, if we're going to advance Mr. Trump's agenda, whether the current leadership is what we need.
And he's got some votes behind what he talks about. So what does the House Speaker need to do to make sure the votes are there?
Well, first of all, I think he needs to relay this message to President Trump. I think by not even mentioning him in this article is not appropriate, because I think President Trump will play a huge role in this. And Speaker Johnson has had a long history of getting along with President Trump. I think President Trump behind the scenes will ultimately decide who the next speaker will be. And two, with the Freedom Caucus, I'm not a member of the Freedom Caucus. I vote as conservative, or more so than some of their members. So I share in their frustration. These spending bills are out of control. Again, it gets down to communication. It's your ambassadors. You can't talk to every single dadgum member, but you've got to have people out there willing to do that.
Yes.
And currently that is what's been lacking in this leadership and in those in the past.
Do you support Mike Johnson as House Speaker?
Currently, he's the only person running, so yes, I do. But if it's going to be ultimately up to Mike. If he doesn't think he's got the votes, I think he'll pull out. And we'll see somebody like a Jim Jordan or somebody else, or Tom Emmert, or Steve Scalise, or Byron Donalds, or anybody along that. And I know as people have said, Elon Musk, you can give it to somebody, or appoint somebody who's not elected, but that remains to be seen of that. So I think there'll be a lot of wild cards in that, and I think it'll be a heated discussion, and I'm sure you can follow play by play because they always get leaked out to you all in the media. So we'll just see how that goes. But ultimately, I think President Trump, he's the biggest dog in the pound, brother, and he's going to make a lot of decisions behind the scenes, and I think you'll see that will be apparent after the next speaker.
In the last 30 seconds that we have, do you think this chaos that's playing out almost in slow motion right now on this one, and what we saw trying to get the CR passed, do you think that hurts the Republicans going forward to pass Trump's agenda?
No, not really. The Democrats do a better job of keeping it down home, but Republicans are diverse. We're the diverse party. We're the ones who have opposition to our leadership and openly oppose them. The Democrats sure don't do that, or they'll get kicked out of their committees and their funding will be cut off. Look, you can say all you want to about Speaker Johnson, but he doesn't cheat on his wife and he hasn't lied to me, so he's a very decent soul. We'll just see if that works out to him being reappointed as speaker or not. But ultimately, I think President Trump will have the most say-so in this thing.
Thank you, Representative.
Guys, it's done. Speaker Mike Johnson is done. With what you see here, there's increased unhappiness at Mar-a-Lago with Mike Johnson as GOP remains traumatized. The reason they're traumatized is because they literally didn't even see the bill but 2 days before it was supposed to be passed. And it was Mike Johnson, Hakeem Jeffries, Mitch McConnell, and Chuck Schumer who decided on a 1,500-page bill that had so much government waste and fat that was going to be passed. And they expected for everything just to go like normal. And that's why people are against him now. And now we're at the point where this could mean no Trump inauguration on January 20th. Because last time that we tried voting for speaker, it took over 3 weeks. If it takes over 3 weeks, Trump's not getting inaugurated on January 20th. It could be closer to February of seeing Trump inaugurated. On top of that, they're focusing on the budget reconciliation. They're focusing on what are we going to pull back spending on? What are we going to limit government with? But I can't even believe I'm saying this, but there's a new round of stimulus checks that are going out right now, $2.4 billion from the IRS. Check this out.
Here's another one. The Biden IRS has sent out $2.4 billion in COVID emergency stimulus checks this week, about 2 years after the COVID emergency ended. Really? Joining me now is North Dakota Senator Kevin Kramer. Senator, yeah, you shake your head. That's all you can do about this stuff. Fortunately, it's not all we can do come January 20th. But I gotta say, adding insult to injury, we get this from the retiring IRS Commissioner, Danny Werfel, excuse me. He said, to minimize headaches and get this money to eligible taxpayers, we're making these payments automatic, meaning these people will not be required to go through the extensive process of filing an amended return to receive it. So bottom line is they're just throwing money out the window.
Yeah, I guess they didn't get the whole inflation is a bad thing memo, David, and we're responsible for it. They seem to have missed that one as well. It's really quite ludicrous to think that 1 million people who didn't ask for the money, didn't apply for it when it was, supposedly available in 2021 tax returns, that now somehow they're just going to force it on them. And who knows for sure if it's even true? Who knows? But by true, I mean, who knows if they're even eligible, or if they're really supposed to be getting it, or if this is just some sort of last-minute stunt to drive up inflation as Donald Trump comes in to the White House. I don't know, but it's one of the crazier things. And just imagine, this is with 87,000 new IRS employees that the first fuel on the fire of inflation in the American Rescue Plan created, so they could go after more taxpayers. I mean, it's why we're where we are, and it's why Donald Trump's going to be president soon.
And by the way, those tens of thousands of extra IRS where they're not just going to be going over a small number of millionaires and billionaires. They're going for the middle class. They're going for the small businesses, the pass-through businesses. They're the ones that are going to get hit the hardest and have to, even if they're completely innocent, they'll have to take months off of their business schedule to fill all these forms. And concerning COVID, I don't want to leave COVID completely, because does anybody even know how much money is left in some of those COVID funds?
Well, and I think that's part of what's at stake, David, is I don't know how much there is. I don't think anybody knows exactly how much there is, but a lot of what is left is what they're trying to get rid of quickly so that it doesn't become, a pay for some tax cuts, or pay for some regulatory, cuts in various agencies. There are just all kinds of ways, better ways to utilize any leftover COVID money than just to simply give it to people and drive up inflation. So, no, I don't know, but I would hope that's one of the things that the DOGE committee gets after, and that Congress itself gets after.
And then we have this horribly named Inflation Reduction Act, which was essentially, at least Biden admitted, it was essentially a green energy act. That's what it amounted to. Billions and billions just peppered with all of these subsidies. I shouldn't say just billions, tens, even hundreds of billions of dollars in these various subsidies. I think even as much as they'd love to spend money before they leave, even the Biden administration can't spend all that money. Should we claw all that money back?
Budget reconciliation.
I believe that we should claw a lot of it back, and what we ought to do is repurpose some of those dollars.
Yes.
Some of it's not necessary at all. Some of it might be better utilized in somewhere else. That there are a lot of the
building
Green New Deal things
like building more of a border wall.
There you have it. There you have it. Let's do that.
Yes.
And by the way, that would cost much less than putting up a whole bunch of electric vehicle charging stations where nobody drives electrical vehicles, or turning our entire energy grid over to China's supply chain or whatever the case might be. There's a whole lot we can be doing, and I can't wait to get started on it.
Now, we mentioned already in the show the DOGE recommendations that are coming up. We're already seeing some of them drip out, but how is that going to be picked up by Congress? How will that be put into action?
Yeah, it's a great question because DOGE doesn't have authority, but what they do have is influence. Yes. And so you're like you said, they're already dripping some things out. These are big things. I actually think it adds value to the work of the appropriators and the budgeters and the Congress by providing both political cover and, by the way, some political exposure to a lot of the waste. I love one of the first ideas I read about, of course, is the simplification of the tax code. And therein lies one of our first opportunities with the new Congress through budget reconciliation. The simplification of the tax code could be the greatest gift to the economy and to every taxpayer in this country, and certainly to business.
By the way, that's Steve Forbes' idea. Get rid of all deductions for everybody, just have a simple flat tax. You think Congress is ready for something that revolutionary?
Well, I don't think that they are. I love the idea of a flat tax, but a flatter tax would even be better because right now we have these 7 brackets. I think when the House passed the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, when I was in the House in 2017, we were down to 3 brackets. The Senate brought it back up to 7 brackets. And there are ramifications to the transition and all those things, David. But there's no question. Simpler is better. It costs a lot less.
Yes.
It unleashes economic opportunity. The tax code itself is one of the worst regulations on every taxpayer in the country, unless, of course, you're a CPA or a tax lawyer. It's pretty good for your economy.
But you can't wait.
Guys, and this is the point that we're at, that all these things, they're just sending out another $2.4 billion in COVID stimulus checks. They're trying to push out as much spending as possible, which we know that all this extra, inflationary money increases inflation whenever all you do is just pour money into the economy for no reason. We're 2 years past COVID. I think people are okay. Want to say thank you so much. Brian McGavig said the wife wants to hear let's go. Thank you so much. Alex Fox, thank you so much for the super chat. So when the Senate selects the president pro term in January, that person could become president. Not good. It could be Mitch McConnell, guys. We have to watch out for this. But thank you so much for Alex and Brian McGavig. Let's go. Y'all show them some love in the chat, everybody. So this is very, very big right now, guys, because what I'm about to show you, not only are they focused on budget reconciliation to try to limit the spending, Biden is doubling down. We're finding out all these leaks. We're most likely going to get a new Speaker of the House. And now, yesterday, Biden sent another $1.25 billion in weapons to Ukraine. Guys, this money spending is unreal. As much debt as we're in, and yet the administration doesn't seem to care whatsoever. Because every time we send money out, and because remember, it's not backed by the gold standard. We're not actually sending the money. It's all digital. All it does is increase inflation. On top of that, this came out from the report from Rand Paul that the Agency for International Development grant got a almost $6 million grant and we gave it to the Tibet Fund for strengthening economic, social, and cultural resilience of the Tibetan communities in South Asia. What country? In India. We literally gave $6 million to another country to help strengthen their economic and social and cultural resilience. Guys, you cannot make this stuff up. This is what our corrupt politicians are doing, is constantly sending millions upon billions of dollars overseas with no accountability. And just like you heard, that representative from North Dakota said, we actually don't know how much money there is. We don't know what's left. There's no accountability whatsoever. There has to be, just like there has to be, I think, a stop at the border, there has to be a stop with all federal spending until we can get some accountability. Because what you're about to see next is the next steps over the Budget Reconciliation Act and what's going to happen with that, because now they're fighting over what they're going to keep and what they're not going to keep. Check this out.
Short weeks until inauguration. House and Senate Republicans are at odds over how to tackle Trump's 2025 agenda. As you heard on the show last week, top GOP lawmakers are split on their reconciliation strategy, with some pushing to tackle border and energy first and punt tax cuts to the end of 2025, while others pushing for everything in one big package. Here is what Wisconsin Senator Ron Johnson told Maria on the show last week.
The tax package is going to take more time. I don't want to just continue. I just don't want to extend the current complex tax system. We have till the beginning of 2026 to do it. We should take our time. You don't need the incentive of securing the border to avoid a massive tax increase.
But Americans for Tax Reform President Grover Norquist out with this warning, quote, Republicans can kiss their House majority goodbye if they delay Trump's tax cuts. He joins me now. And Grover, here's the question. Even if they did push it towards the end of the year, they still would have the majority in the House and the Senate, and you've got a Republican president. So why are you concerned about them waiting several months, trying to figure out other pieces of the more immediate future for spending first?
Because we've done stupid twice before. When Reagan was elected, his tax cuts didn't take full effect until January of 1983. And in until 1983. In 1983, we had 4 million jobs created, which in a much smaller workforce. It was wonderful. That took place after 1982, the election in November, when we lost 25 House seats, because the growth came in 83, not in 81 and 82.
Wow.
Move forward to the Trump years. Trump, 2017, put the bill forward. It wasn't signed until December 22nd, end of 2017. What happened? Tremendous growth. We had growth, 6.8% growth for the median family income, more than all 8 years of Obama. Absolutely amazing. When?
Wow.
2019. What was that? After the Republicans lost 40 seats in the House of Representatives and lost control of the House. It's delaying the effectiveness of the tax bill. It's delaying when businessmen and women deciding today, am I going to hire somebody? Should I buy a new truck, buy additional cars, buy new computers, invest? What should I do? I don't know, because they're talking about other things in Washington, D.C., and they'll get to the tax bill. I guess when they get to the tax bill, I'll know whether to invest. And that doesn't show up in job creation for a year, 2 years, sometimes more.
Yeah, it's delayed.
They need to move yesterday.
Earlier this week, Senator Rand Paul came out with his annual Festivus report, highlights more than $1 trillion of government waste spending. Some examples: $10,000 to fund a bearded lady on ice cabaret show, $419,000 to study lonely rats, $32,000 for breakdancing. Are you optimistic that DOJ is going to be able to tackle reckless government spending like this when the new administration takes over? And not just the reckless spending, but then also, what are we going to do about Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid?
Yeah, I think DOJ, what they're looking to do in highlighting wasteful spending and looking for opportunities. Go around this town in Washington, D.C., there are empty government buildings that we keep, that we have security for, that we pay leases on, and government workers are not coming to work because their unions say, we don't have to come to work, we'll call in. That's why if you call the IRS, they don't answer the phone because the guy at home not answering the phone is at the pool, not in his office talking to you. There is a huge amount of waste. There are too many government employees. Federal government employees get paid a lot more than regular citizens with real jobs do when you count their amazing pensions, the few hours they actually work in a week or in a year, and the benefits that they get on top of their pay. So there's a lot of overspending by Washington, D.C. And what do we have now that we didn't have before? Twitter, X, the ability to focus on this.
Yes.
CBS can't say, shut up, ignore it, because we're past waiting for CBS to tell us something happened.
Well, okay, so, obviously, I'm curious if you think that, like we've heard, like Rand Paul, we can cut $1 trillion. Vivek and Elon Musk, we can cut $2 trillion. How optimistic are you that we could really do this? Because Congress has to approve this. Right now they're fighting about the speakership, so.
Okay, do we get $1 trillion or $2 trillion? I don't know that you get that much at the first cut, but some small steps forward for crying out. Block granting Medicaid out to the states and simply saying it grows with inflation. That's $600 billion over a decade, simply by doing exactly to Medicaid what Bill Clinton did for aid to families with dependent children. Block grant it to the states and cap its growth. There's lots of savings to be made.
All right, Grover Norquist, thank you so much.
Guys, this is insane. What we're seeing as far as the infighting, what's happening, a lot of people are starting to get very cringy, very nervous over what Trump is about to do. Bonnie Blackwood, thank you so much for the super chat. I said, remember the Lahaina DS is choking the life out of Lahaina. I hope I'm saying that correctly. Yes, because out of the Maui, I'm pretty sure that pertains to the Maui fires. Guys, there's so much out there where Americans have been stepped over to help out illegals, other countries. And it just blows my mind because there's billions of dollars unaccounted for that we need to take care of our Americans first. Thank you so much, Bonnie. Y'all show Bonnie some love in the chat. But Trump has now vowed to fully declassify the JFK files. This is huge. This involves the CIA. This involves the FBI. On top of that, we have it where Trump said, look, we're coming after everybody. He said, he posted this on True Social. Are the Democrats allowed to pay $11 million, $2 million, $500,000 to get the endorsement of Beyonce, Oprah, and Reverend Al Sharpton? I don't think so. Beyonce didn't sing. Oprah didn't do much of anything. She called it expenses, and Al is just a third-rate con man. So what is going on here? Totally against the law, and I have heard there are many others. Trump is calling everybody out, guys. Everybody's getting nervous over what they're about to see because they know now that nothing's going to be covered up. If he's going to release the JFK files, then we know that we're about to see a lot of the 100% just corruption that has happened against the American people. But not only that, there has been leaked news now coming out over what Biden has done and all the lies exposed that Trump said, I'm coming after them as well with Kash Patel. Check this out.
After the election. Joining me now is Florida Congressman Byron Donalds, who's also on the Oversight Committee. Congressman, thanks for joining us tonight. Why do we get these photos so late, and what did they tell you?
We got the photos late because it took America First Legal suing the National Archives. You remember them, the same National Archives that said for a couple years that Donald Trump was holding back classified information. They had to sue that National Archives just to get access to these photos. And the people who were blocking these photos, none other than President Joe Biden and President Barack Obama. And so in that lawsuit, they basically said, we'll finally release those to you after the election. Surprise, surprise. Look, at the end of the day, Joe Biden was corrupt. His family is corrupt. They took millions and millions from overseas, including Chinese corporations, which we all know are backed by the Chinese Communist Party. The reason why? They were trying to make their own money using Joe Biden's position in politics because the Biden family never had a business. They were trying to live off the largesse of his access, which was pay to play. But the American people have seen through it. He's been defeated. He's leaving soon. But this goes to show how corrupt the swamp really is.
You know, when Joe Biden pardoned his son, he said, and I quote, "For my entire career, I have followed a simple principle. Just tell the American people the truth. I hope Americans will understand why a father and a president would come to this decision." I mean, Congressman, that's pretty rich about being truthful. Do you expect more Biden family members to be pardoned before he leaves office on January 20th?
Biden.
It's very possible, but let's be clear. The reason why he pardons Hunter Biden is because Hunter was the bag man. He was the one making all the travel, moving the money around, working with the business partners. He had daddy on the phone at a moment's notice anytime he needed somebody to make sure that Hunter had access to the big guy, which is Joe Biden. So, of course, going out the door, this is what Joe Biden has to do, not just to protect himself, but to protect his family, because this family has been built on the corruption of Joe Biden's position. That's the bottom line. Does the brother, Jim Biden, does he get a pardon? It's possible. The Oversight Committee, we already uncovered that it was Jim Biden's wife that wrote a check to Joe Biden for $40,000. And that $40,000, if you follow the money, it comes from one of the business interests that Hunter Biden had because of his connection, obviously, to his father, who was at the top of our politics for a very long time.
Yeah, I still want to understand why Joe Biden's grandkids got over $100,000 put into their account, but you know that's another story. I still think I can hear the critics now. Oh, Joe Biden, he's a nice guy. It's time to move on. We've already flushed this out. I mean, all these excuses to move on. But I hope you and the Oversight Committee unveil the truth to its fullest. We have to get there to its fullest, and I hope that's the commitment that you and the committee make.
No, I totally agree. And let's be honest about this piece as well. This was covered up by the mainstream media, obviously, by the Democrat Party, and by a lot of people who knew what was going on in the intelligence community, all to protect Joe Biden. And what has come out, the truth that has now been revealed to the American people, for as much as they wanted to talk about Donald Trump the last 8 years, it was actually Joe Biden and others, I might add, who have been destructive of America's democracy. Thank God for the American people making the right decision on November 5th.
Guys, Byron Donalds is actually one of the front-leading people of running for speakership against Mike Johnson. A lot of people see him as a true believer, true patriot, true MAGA. Thank you so much. What's new for the super chat? Let's go. He said, I trust Trump's decision. Thank you, Joel. Y'all show what's new. Some love in the chat, everybody. The big thing now is that Trump is not who he was in 2016. He's a lot smarter. He's a lot more experienced in politics, and he now knows all these rhinos. And I believe that we're going to get a new speaker in the next coming weeks. But this is the other part to it, too. Trump has said he refuses any business with countries that will not take back migrants from their own country. So there's leaked news out there that now when they look at other countries, that we, the taxpayers, actually gave money to these countries to send their criminals, their illegals into our country. We, the taxpayers, paid that. And now he's saying this is what's going to happen moving forward. On top of that, we have this update on, because remember, it was all a scheme. It was all by design. Trump posted this on Truth Social. He said, in a major, crucial win for America and our national security, a federal judge in Texas, based on papers we filed just a few days ago, has prohibited the Biden administration from selling any materials designated for the border wall that has been wrecked by Biden and his cronies, and which I'm going to rebuild in the order to protect our country from violent migrant crime, fentanyl smuggling, sex trafficking, terror attacks, and other heinous nation-ending disasters. The judge also ordered an investigation into the illegal selling of the materials, which will expose just how corrupt and anti-American radical Democrats are. I am honored to be joined in this vital case by the great states of Texas and Missouri and applaud Judge Drew Tipton for doing the right thing for our country. We have to protect our borders and save America. MAGA. Guys, like I told you, all this was happening behind the scenes. And this is not just the end of it. Trump is not going to stop with anything. Everything that we were like, is he going to go after them? Is he going to go after them? 100%. This is one of his top political peoples who's, I think it says chief of staff, who is now going to be, not his chief of staff, but one of the main persons who says, we're going after the Bidens for all this corruption. Check this out.
The fact that you had to sue, the National Archives belong to the American people. They keep material that are relevant to this nation and the direction of the country and what our supposed leaders are doing to this nation. You had to sue to get these released. Now they're out. Tell me about what that process was like.
Yes, this is really outrageous. It's astonishing. As you said, the National Archives are the archives of the nation. These records belong to the American people. My organization, America First Legal, that of course I'm leaving to go and be the Deputy Chief of Staff for Policy for President Trump in the White House, had to sue the federal government had to sue the National Archives to get these records that prove that Joe Biden lied to the American people. And the National Archives, colluding with lawyers for Biden and Obama, refused to hand over these records until after the election because they knew how damning they were to the credibility of this administration and to the media that concealed and covered up for this administration. This is the same National Archives, Tammy, that created the illegal pretext for the FBI to raid Mar-a-Lago, the home and the private club of the 45th and 47th president. The National Archives is corrupt. The DOJ is corrupt. And every day brings more evidence of that corruption. And so when we come into office in January, we are going to reform the federal government so this weaponization, these partisan abuses, these sabotaging and attacks on our democracy end.
You know, what's interesting is, in the scheme of things, this is a few photographs, right? Lots of conversation. But the rot is so significant and so deep that they'll even go to bat to stop the photographs.
Wow.
And what else that tells us, Stephen, obviously, is that they know this wasn't some mistake and Joe wasn't lying to everybody and people knew about it, or if they didn't, they learned about it. And their knee-jerk go-to reaction was to collude and hide and for Biden's lie, when it's as though we've been completely forgotten. President Trump talks about, you know, the forgotten man and woman. It's the forgotten country at this point.
Wow.
How often, Tammy, how often in life do you get photographic documentary evidence that proves that the president, in this case Joe Biden, lied, that proves a government conspiracy, that proves a media conspiracy? We have the actual photographs proving that Joe...
Guys, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but remember, verbatim, Biden said, I have never met with any of Hunter Biden's associates. I've never had any dealings with Hunter Biden. And what he did, this straight up lie. Can you believe this? That the archives, we had to sue them. If this isn't corrupt, tell me what is. Because this needs to be held accountable to Joe Biden, and he needs to answer to the American people.
Biden met with Hunter's business partners, met with high-ranking officials in China with Hunter Biden for no legitimate government purpose whatsoever. And there was a massive effort to keep these photos from the American people before the election. How much evidence is stacked up of the ways the permanent bureaucracy in Washington has tried to keep President Trump from returning to the Oval Office, and yet he won a landslide, and yet he will return because the American people are sick of a government, as you say, that has forgotten them, and I will go further, a government that has betrayed them.
Well, you see, that's the key here, and it seems to be systemic now. And this is my concern, and I'm wondering now that you're going back into the White House, it wasn't just about Hunter, right? This is a symptom. And it's not just China, but China, I would say, is our biggest geopolitical enemy at this point, and what they aim to do. We have we're going to be talking about a little later the Chinese spy balloons. You know, how deep does this go? And is that going to be part of the agenda of what the new administration is going to be looking into?
Well, the last 8 years, starting with Comey and Russiagate, and everything that's happened since then has demonstrated that it goes very far and very deep. There is indeed an unelected, permanent federal bureaucracy, particularly concentrated in the Department of Justice, the FBI, the intelligence community, and now also the National Archives, that believes that its agenda is superior to the will of the American people and the American voter. And this election, this thunderous, historic electoral college and popular vote landslide that took place in November is a mandate for many things. A mandate to seal the border shut, a mandate to open up American energy, to defeat inflation, but it is also a mandate to defeat the deep state and make every facet of this government truly accountable to the American people and to the president that they elect to serve and represent them.
Well, you know, this is, Stephen, thank you. This is the magnificence of that election, that the American people are who we believe them to be, which are revolutionaries and courageous, and that we're not giving it up, not by a long shot. But this is the mandate, because it is that deep state that is really the core of the problem that allows all the rest of this to grow and infect this nation. Stephen Miller, great job with this.
Guys, I'm telling you, the deep state, a lot of the Democrats, they make no sense. Their politics are just they're honestly not based on reality with what I'm about to show you. Thank you so much, Ty Matt Chong, for the super chat. Said they are trying to hide their corruptions plus spending our taxpayer funds to do dumb things. That's why they are trying to block Trump. I can see 100%. Y'all show Ty Matt Chong some love in the chat. And B1 Sly One for gifting the One True Life News membership. Y'all show B1 Sly One some love in the chat too as well. So right here, guys, you see on screen, this is the mindset of what we're dealing with. And I feel like this is why we needed to win so bad, guys. In Oregon, the top CNN post. This is from 2020, November 9, 2020. Oregon becomes the first state to decriminalize small amounts of heroin and other street drugs. And then at the bottom, January 31st, 2024, Oregon leaders declare a 90-day state of emergency in downtown Portland to address fentanyl crisis. You can't make this stuff up. They literally, this type of unrational thinking makes absolutely no sense. And they want to apply this to the entire country, this type of thinking. But a lot of people have said, no, we want MAGA. We don't want Republicans. We want Trump. Remember, Trump is not establishment. And that's what I love, is that we're seeing that Trump has won the hearts and minds of a lot of people. Kathy L, thank you so much for the gifted True Life News membership. Let's go. Y'all show Kathy some love in the chat. Watch this, guys, because the tide is turning and more people are turning towards Trump.
And want to assimilate into the culture of America. But if Canadians want Trump to be their president and CEOs are begging to help, Trump's even winning the hearts and minds of Democrats. Listen to what one DNC chairman said this candidate had to say.
He won because he really ran as a Democrat of the Bill Clinton and Obama era. Bill Clinton and Barack Obama were actually very moderate, and they understood the voter. That's why Trump got 80 million votes. We have to return to fighting for policies, common sense that work. Universal school choice. Trump's right on that as well. Our kids must be taught reading, writing, math. Trump has embraced that, not gender, sex, and race, Kate. That's the problem that our party has.
All right, well, Trump is convincing the world to see that his side is the side of winning. He's promising to usher in a new golden age with common sense, and now everyone wants to be a part of it. Trump's doing what Biden promised he'd do, unite the country. And maybe Joe's a little jealous.
We have the bald eagle now officially the bird of the United States. What do you expect to see him do in the next 3 weeks of lasting effect?
I mean, I think what he's trying to do is trying to corner Donald Trump and sort of box him in so he can do. I think the Biden administration and the president is trying to prevent Donald Trump from doing as much damage as he possibly could do, which he could do a lot of becoming president. But I think Joe Biden is trying to box him in on this.
Box him in. Biden's working harder now than he has in the last 4 years. He spent nearly 40% of his presidency on vacation.
40%?
That's a total of 570 days on vacation in the last 4 years. And he's spending the week in St. Croix before heading over to Rome. Ask yourself, how many vacation days have you had in the last 4 years? The country barely saw the president or heard from him.
No. Yeah, we barely.
One of the things that I've really seen was that I think one of the big problems in the Biden admin was not so much the policy, but the messaging, right?
Yeah.
They didn't do interviews. They weren't forward facing the way Donald Trump was. I mean, for 4 years, Donald Trump basically ran for president again, whereas Biden was not doing interviews, was very sort of, careful about what he did, didn't do a lot of media. And I think that was a really big mistake because Trump sort of really took all the oxygen out of the room.
Oxygen out of the room is right. Since the election, 7 out of 10 Democrats have tuned out politics. The party's on life support, and some are already writing each other's political obituaries. Politico says the end-of-the-year obituary packages are publishing. And look what they're saying are the trends in politics that died in 2024. It's mostly what Democrats ran on. Celebrity endorsements, door-to-door canvassing, DEI, campaigning on abortion, trusting the experts. Politico says, feel free to offer a quick moment of silence. We may not see them again. And Democrats may never see Kamala Harris again either. They're talking about her like she's in the past.
I've really been thinking about this because I think in a lot of ways, you know, the fact that she did lose the election has overshadowed what was so extraordinary and important about her accomplishments as the first female vice president. And I think history is going to look kindly on her term. She was an extraordinary advocate on issues that matter to women in ways that we have never seen before. And I think like many women, and really anyone who is the first, who is a trailblazer, they carry an extra heavy load and the burden is, you know, really upon them. It is an incredibly difficult road to, you know, path to walk, but she has done it with grace.
I'm not so sure about that. I think history will remember Kamala Harris for putting the party $1.5 billion in debt and for shattering the Obama coalition. Because of her, the party's being forced into a great reckoning.
Yep.
And the clock's ticking for the old guard. One Democratic strategist says, I think there are going to be big demands for a greater reckoning. The Democratic Politburo, Obama, Pelosi, Schumer, Jeffries, and others all participated in the obvious lie that Biden was capable of a second term. In the anti-democratic move to install a wholly untested vice president, Harris, and in lacking the courage for the past 4 years to stand up to a progressive left whose policies are far out of touch with most voters. They all failed the test of leadership in this respect. And for that, the American people told them, you're fired. So what's next for the Democratic Party?
Guys, let me tell you this. What we're seeing, what he just said, you know, everybody covered up Biden's just blatant lie. And Joe Biden literally came out and said that he regrets withdrawing. This is from the leading report. Regrets withdrawing from the presidential race and believes he would have defeated Trump in the last month's election, according to the White House sources. You can't, like, wow. Thank you so much, Jeff is the truth, for the super chat. He said, Happy New Year, everyone. I hope everyone has a blessed year. Let's keep praying. This is not over yet. Too many corrupt politicians in office, 100%. And thank you so much, Judy Lynn, for gifting 5 True Life News memberships. If y'all got one, y'all show Judy Lynn some love, and Jeff is the truth some love in the chat, everybody. The biggest thing that we're facing now is the speakership. We have now, there's more and more people like Thomas Massey who are doubling down, who saying, I will vote for someone other than Mike Johnson. And what a lot of people are looking at now is, okay, what happens if to the economy? What happens to if Speaker Mike Johnson is replaced? Check this out.
Impact be for the markets and economy if a speaker showdown slows Trump's plans down? Let's ask former Trump campaign economic advisor Steve Moore. Steve, great to see you. Thanks for being here. I don't know. I think Donald Trump can change the whole configuration of things. As difficult as it looks right now, and as difficult as it's been for Republicans in the House for the past 2 years, when Donald Trump is president, he's gonna make a lot of these decisions, right?
That's right. And by the way, just apropos of your conversation with the congressman, we've started a movement called Conservatives for Johnson, because we think he's been an outstanding speaker under an incredibly tough situation with a very razor-thin majority. I think he has been superb, actually. And this idea of trying to get rid of him, I think, would cause chaos. As you said, just at a time when we've got a full plate agenda we've got to get running with. And so we will see. But, you know, the tax cut is obviously on the economic front the top priority, Absolutely. David. And use reconciliation to do it. But this can be done, and it'll be a powerful stimulant to the economy.
By the way, if it's delayed, as a number of Republicans want it to be delayed, and if that delay leads into the end of 2025, tax cuts are going to go up for 65% of Americans at least. I mean, what else could happen if these tax cuts expire?
Well, it's a good point. I want to reiterate what you just said, because I think a lot of Americans don't follow this all that closely. So if the Congress does not act, then taxes, as you just said, will automatically go up at the end of 2025 and into 2026. So I think the Republicans are playing a dangerous game in delaying the tax cut. And by the way, we need an economic stimulus right now. Biden is not handing off a strong economy to Trump. He's not. That's the liberal narrative. Actually, there are a lot of problems with the economy, the debt, the deficits, the fact that consumers are so pinched right now because of the high inflation. And so Republicans should I'd like to see this done. Mr. President, get this done in the first 100 days, for goodness sakes, and then the economy will be the jet engine.
Well, spending outrages continue, by the way. Biden administration is spending a lot of money on the way out. We see there inflation is continuing to go up. And of course, a lot of that is because, I would say all of that is because of the spending that's going on inside the Beltway. Biden's IRS chief, by the way, just announced this week that he's sending out $2.4 billion in COVID relief funds. I thought COVID was over, Steve.
I mean, I shouldn't laugh. I don't know if we should be laughing or crying about this, but Biden has, 3 weeks left or something as president. And since the election, it's just been an avalanche of new spending. It's literally, David, they're spending every single penny they can get there, even the quarters and the sofa cushion they're trying to spend, leaving Trump in a bigger hole. Somebody should tell Biden, just stop spending. We've already borrowed $7 trillion. We don't need hundreds of billions of dollars more.
Guys, and that's what they're continuing to do. Another $2.4 billion in stimulus checks. You can't make this stuff up. And they're COVID stimulus checks. Thank you so much, Donna and Darcy's Tea Corner. Welcome to the family. Y'all show them some love in the chat, everybody. Want to say thank you so much to everybody that's watching. If you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button so I can serve you Monday through Friday with 2 shows every single day. And Saturday, 1 show, and Sunday, 1 show every single week, keeping you with the top news and breaking news that's going on. As I'm watching the show, as I'm giving you the show, I'm literally looking for breaking news to make sure that you're taken care of. Thank you to all of our members of the channel. I love it. If you want to be a member, the link is in the description to join and be a part of the True Life News family. And thank you so much to everybody that has liked the video. If you haven't, click that thumbs up like button. It really does help the channel to grow so much. Thank you so much, Brian McGavick, Alex Fox, Bonnie Blackwood, What's New, Ty Matt Chong for the super chats. Let's go. Thank you so much, Kathy L. Judy Lynn Loving Spirit for gifting the True Life News memberships, and B1 Sly One. Y'all show them some love in the chat, guys. We are here for you every single day. We don't care whether you're Republican or Democrat. We are American First channel. I love everybody. I want to see everybody win. I want to see America move forward and continue to be the #1 best country in the world, and that's what we're pushing for. Love you all. Appreciate your support, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.